UFC 317 is in shambles because Dricus du Plessis just pulled out with an injury at the start of his training camp, like a classic Homer Simpson move, just like he is. In this video, I'll be uh building a card for UFC 317, and I'll be giving you my new matchups now that Dricus pulled out. And yeah, let's put on our Dan Hardy hardcore glasses and let's just get into the nitty-gritty on why I think some matchups will work out and then why I think some other matchups are unrealistic. And let's just start off with the unrealistic matchups now. I know we love to think we're living in fairy gumdrop land, you know? How creative of me switching Peaches of Creamville to fairy gumdrop land. But anyways, I do think Oliveira and Topuria is a fun fight. It is honestly my dream fight for the lightweight division. I think this honestly brings us the most fireworks. I think it's the most interesting stylistically. I think there's a lot of arguments for both people, but these lightweights are becoming divas. Like Charles Oliveira, you've seen him. He's just been completely he's been non-negotiable, just title shot or nothing. And he has absolutely zero credibility to be doing this. It isn't like he's on this crazy win streak. He beat Michael Chandler, who's now ranked number 12 after losing his last five. Like this matchup would be great, but it's just Topuria and Oliveira. They're both, instead of actually like making it worth their while and like fighting stuff to prove themselves, they're just on their Instagram lives just giving heartfelt speeches about like why they should get the title shot. And it is, I would love to see Charles Oliveira get a title shot again and maybe see him win and like have some false hope, but it's just extremely unrealistic in the shape of this lightweight division. And I just think these guys are millionaires, so I don't see any of them budging. Like I know it's stupid for them not to budge, but I just think Oliveira, he doesn't really need to fight. He's in the favelas. It's not really too expensive out there. And yeah, he doesn't really need to fight for money. It's now about legacy, and he just doesn't want to take any risks. But to be honest, I think it's just time's gonna pass him by. And to be honest, Topuria I do think is more negotiable. To be honest, whenever I listen to him, I don't think he's really full set on this. I think he's just kind of saying it's just to take an opportunity in case it's there. But yeah, Oliveira I think is a for sure out of any number one contenders fights. And yeah, let's move on. So the main event that I think is realistic and I think would be great is Justin Gaethje or Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan. And the reason I think this is because Arman Tsarukyan, he's been sitting out after pulling out of his UFC lightweight title shot, and he's just been absolutely livid at every lightweight contender because no one wants to fight him. Arman Tsarukyan, he's denied a rematch at the title after pulling out, so now he's just looking for anyone to fight, and no one wants to, so he's just begging everyone, tweeting at everyone. He's tweeting at Paddy Pimblett, who's ranked number 8. And I just think, I don't know, if he's so angsty to get back in there and we're so like holding a grudge on him, I think we should do him against Justin Gaethje or Topuria. I know Justin Gaethje was saying how he earned the title shot and it's really non-negotiable, but I really do think that was Ali Al-Sleaze who wrote that message. I don't think Gaethje really is too much of a stickler of who he fights, and unless it like doesn't really get him closer to the title. And I think an interim title fight against Arman Tsarukyan would definitely be enticing. I think we could bump up the pay grade a little bit just to entice him a little bit more. And yeah, I think it's International Fight Week, so we need some high stake matchups to make hardcore fans excited, to get the whole community talking and stuff. And I think if we just keep it to the boring middleweight interim fight, and then I'll tell you the reality of the situation and what we're facing later. But yeah, I think Topuria is a great idea. I think Topuria would be honestly a better fight than Justin Gaethje, but I just don't think he'll accept it because he's been on this tangent. You saw the JRE broadcast. He was promised like a UFC title shot. I don't know why these UFC executives keep on promising like Yair Rodriguez and like, I'm sorry, they got to stop promising so many people title shots before I go like insane. And anyways, yeah, so I don't think he'll do it. And I think you can promise the winner a title shot. It is an interim title shot, so yeah, I think if you put that up for grabs in the matchup, most lightweight contenders are going to feel almost pressure to take it because it's an almost guarantee whoever wins the interim title fight will be fighting for the title. And I think most people will get passed up like Oliveira and whoever doesn't fight between Gaethje or Topuria. And to be honest, good riddance. I think whoever's like, I have Farouk Gasol in the top right. I know it's a pretty niche Willy Wonka reference, but I just think giving title shots based on people who are just whining on social media and not really earning it, like, why do that? Like, I know Charles Oliveira is a big star. I know Justin Gaethje is a big star, but they haven't really done anything to earn it. And instead of giving the fans an actual matchups that they want, it's just a whole clusterfuck of everyone screaming about wanting their title shot while nothing really gets done. So I think the UFC should take some initiative, like what MMA Guru says with the whip, just, you know, a little more authority, a little more just pushing the fighters towards fights, you know? So I think either fight would be interesting to watch and predict. So whichever one they want to do, that's my main event for it. Here's my co-main. I think it should be a Mavov who gets a shot. I know everyone's going to be like, Kyle Berhalo, fighting nerds, you know, Jared Cannonier. Um, and he's been more vocal, he's been more active, he has the more hype, and I completely get it. I do think they're gonna go with Cairo Bahalo over Mavov just because of the fighting nerds hype. But if you really look at Mavov's title or not title, yeah, his what's it called? His record, you kind of just the names on his record. He has that loss against Sean Strickland, sure, and I know Strickland, he's not really looking too impressive to like lose to recently, but beating Cannonier, Adesanya, Brendan Allen, those three names are just three really good top 10 names who are really solid. And he also has Roman Dolidze, who's another name, and then Joaquin Buckley, who's doing great at welterweight. I just think you cannot really pass up that shot. I mean, Kyle Barallo only has Cannonier out of those five names and no one else in the top 10. And he should deserve the title shot over Mavov? No. I mean, I know he's more interesting. I know Barallo fighting nerds. He can speak both languages. But I don't know. Mavov, I just think we have to keep this kind of a sport and give the most deserving person a title shot. I don't know. And I just think this is a more interesting stylistic matchup than Kyle Berharlo because I think Amavov's just a lengthier striker who's I feel like he's able I think his gas tank is better than Berharlo. I know Berharlo was like gritty in the 5 round fight against Cannonier and really didn't show that he couldn't go 5 rounds. But I just think Amavov he's more proven in main events. I think he'll be able to stuff a lot of Chimaev's takedowns. And to be honest, I think Mavov has a really good shot of winning this fight. So I think it's just more interesting. I think Chimaev, I think he would probably prefer the Kyle Baharlo fight, and I think that's what the UFC will do. And I don't really mind it, but yeah, I just think, you know, this is a more interesting matchup. And then here's a lame joke I wrote. Mavov is Russian, making inbreeding a factor for both. So hopefully someone enjoyed that out there. If you did, please comment below that you enjoyed that joke in slide 3. Yeah, let's move on. So these are a few other matchups that I really like for the UFC 317 card. So I saw I gotta give credit to MMA Guru. So because I went back and he did have this matchup up there, so I didn't want to steal it. But yeah, I think this matchup makes really good sense now because recently Adesanya came out saying how he's gonna come back and probably fight Strickland. That's what he wants on his comeback fight for his retirement. And so I think that just leaves Robert Whittaker in no man's land because he wanted Strickland or Adesanya. So now you're going to be fed to the wolves, Whittaker. You're going to get Kyle Barharlo, and whether he likes it or not, we're just going to have to pump up his pay grade. I know Whittaker has been so adamant about not fighting anyone at top level, but I think just pay him a little bit more, and I think he says yes. And I think this would fulfill Kyle Berharlo's title shot. I think it would make sense after he beats a guy like Whittaker, who's been on the top of the division for so long. And I do think it'll be more interesting than people expect. I think Kyle might be able to use some wrestling. But if it's a 3-rounder like I hope it is, I don't know. I could see. I don't know. It's a hard matchup to think. I know Kyle's the clear pick. He's just ruthless aggression and fast, but I think Whitaker could bring some problems. We have already the Royval versus Manel Cap fight booked, so that's just definitely going to be a main card addition. I'm pretty excited for it. And then here's the two matchups that I think are fun, but to be honest, you can mix and match these. So Gamrot said he would fight someone outside of the rankings, and once a UFC ranked fighter says that, I think you kind of have to hop onto the opportunity. So to be honest, I think Mauricio Ruffy or Brian Ortega makes sense for Gamrot. I know a lot of people will say, don't rush Ruffy to the top of the division and make him fight a nightmare matchup in Gamrot. And I get it, to be honest, but when a ranked fighter says he wants to fight down, you have to take that opportunity. As the UFC stands recently, no one wants to fight top level fighters. So when a fighter is actually willing and raising his hand to do so, I think you give it to him. So I think Gamrot should either fight Mauricio Ruffy or Brian Ortega, who is a featherweight trying to come up to lightweight. He hasn't fought since the UFC Sphere card, so it's been quite a while since we saw Brian Ortega. I think he's had enough time to bulk, so I think he should fight. You know, honestly, you can intermix any of these. I think Brian Ortega versus Beneil Dariush would also be a fun fight. But yeah, I went with Mauricio Ruffy versus Beneil Dariush as the matchup to make because I don't know. I feel like Mauricio Ruffy. I just want to see Mauricio Ruffy do well. I know he would lose in a matchup against Gamrot, and I know you. I know the fight nerds have a lot of aura, but Gamrot's just a different level of fighter where it just transcends aura and his grit and his Dustin Poirier guillotine. There's just no way Ruffy would win that fight. So I think Beneil Dariush is a matchup to make. I know Guru also said that matchup, but yeah, intermix those. I think it adds fun to the prelims and opening card. And yeah, I think it makes a solid UFC 317 from the disaster it kind of started out from. So yeah, it also gives lightweight backup for any fiascos that happen in the title shot. I know none of these names are in the title picture, but I don't know, man. I don't know. You kind of have to just kind of have to have them. So, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe for more, comment below, and yeah, see you later. Wait, do I have one more slide? Fuck! I have one more slide. Hey, false alarm. I know you were about to click off. We have one more slide. So this is actually what will happen in the UFC. So Dana White will hop on an Instagram live announcement and go, "What's up, fight fans? We have some baller fight announcements tonight." And everyone will be on the edge of their seats just waiting for it. And then he'll drop that Pantoja and Cara France are the main event with Chimaev versus Kyle Berharlo. And then try to manipulate you into being excited for it. Now, I love Pantoja. If he gets one more main event, like the fact that Pantoja is getting main event after main event, and I know it's all circumstantial, but we can't keep on. In UFC International Fight Week, Pantoja can't be getting this honor. This is a big card. Like in shitty UFC 311 Brazil, yeah, Throne Pantoja, their only champion, I think, right now, right? Yeah, their only champion. But yeah, dude, it's just for UFC International Fight Week, you can't do it. So you get the gist. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, like, all that jazz. See you later.